grab some of the smaller cage to play, you can do that. You can do it.
I have $540. Oh my god. I have $1,000. Now I bet it on the fucking slots.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. It's worth $2,340. And now, wait, hold on. I believe in the I believe in the slots again. Oh my god. That's worth $7,000. I have $7,000. I only have the chips left in my hand that I actually started with, so. Just another day at the cast, am I right, fellas? And back to gambling. So there's a mod that adds a casino to Lethal Company. It turned out fine. Oh god, I'm gonna be sick. I know this is a bad look, but I have an explanation. Gambling is fun in-game. But why is that? Because it feels good to get lucky. Why is that? Because I like getting rewarded for the risk I put in. But on the other hand, there are definitely times where my mental is tested. Why, Well, I guess that just happens. I got unlucky. But how many times can I really tank the dark thought that the odds weren't in my favor? It depends. All mechanics that use chance can hit differently. Sometimes you get skipped in Uno, but that doesn't hold the same weight as losing a star in Mario Party. But these are the games we play. Rolling a dice, a chance to hit, getting your head torn off by a stray bullet, an hour-long run being decided by a single number in my computer being one value lower. That one kinda stings. But RNG exists for the reason every other thing in games exists. And that's try to keep the fun thing fun for longer. If you look at something like chess, besides how you pick sides, it is zero luck involved. If I'm playing someone better than me, while they're pre-moving checkmate, I'm pre-moving something that has a 100% guarantee to end the game. Skill is the deciding factor. The Grandmaster will make better decisions to put them in a better position. Compare this to Uno. The cards you get are all luck. Even if you make all the right choices, you can still lose. Uno Grandmasters don't fucking exist, because what are you gonna do when you get plus forward? Assuming house rules say you can't stack. That's the point though. The same person isn't meant to win 5 times in a row. That would make the game lose its purpose. It's supposed to be a fun party game.
I don't think you'd skip, right?
Nothing.
No, you wouldn't skip, because...
Think back to the moment one person won the same party game a bunch of times in a row. The moment the victor becomes consistent, that game is never seen the light of day anymore. Because even though it's fun for one guy, everybody else is making a democratic vote to never play Uno again. It has the same effect of rigging a coin flip. The entire point of the flip becomes useless. You were meant to leave the outcome to chance, that's the point, that's what makes playing the game fun in the first place. Uno is designed to be bullshit and make your choices not matter. There's no use fighting the flow of the game, and that's what makes it balanced. In no other game would you find a 3-year-old having fun bullying a grown man with +4s, and that's a beautiful thing. Luck makes things uncertain. It's meant to fight against you, to deter you from reaching that goal, and that makes the game more interesting. But depending on how games spin the wheel, luck can become a small hurdle, or the final boss. In competitive games, luck is kind of used like a balancing mechanic. Mechanics like bullet spray and movement inaccuracy and hit chances and crits, most of the time it's an invisible barrier that stops the player from abusing a sort of busted mechanic. The main thing here is, depending on how strong that is, you have to make it less consistent. Take running, gunning, and tactical shooters. Here, a single well-placed bullet can take you out of the game. Suppressing your A and D keys becomes really valuable because you want to become harder to hit. But the catch is movement inaccuracy, which basically means that while you're moving, your gun will shoot in a random pattern wherever you're aiming. So, if you're moving and shooting, it's really unlikely that you'll be able to hit your target. So, technically balanced, because if 9 out of 10 times it's not working, you shouldn't do it. But unlikely doesn't mean impossible. And sometimes, when people just decide to say fuck it, sometimes it happens. There's no counterplay, nothing you could have done, And, you know, I get it. That's how chance works, and I guess it's just unlucky. But motherfucker, man! It never feels good to get run and gunned, because whenever I see someone run and gunning, I'm not booting up the mic to say, "Dear God, thank you for giving me good fortune and saving me." I say, "What the fuck?" So when it does work, the silence conveys unspoken words. And I'm giving my monitor the look. I feel like the whole concept of balancing things with chance is a nightmare, because who's to say that the percent chance you set for this specific thing to happen is actually balanced? You will, literally, never know, because if I flipped a coin 100 times, I'm probably not going to get 50 heads and 50 tails, because even though you can predict what should happen, with maths, that might not be the case when you actually try. If you change Scold so it had a 5% chance to inflict a burn, that's not going to stop me from calling bullshit when it actually happens. That's like telling someone who's been scared of sharks their whole life the fact that statistically, more people die from vending machines. Like, yeah, sure, but it's more likely that fact will make you more scared of vending machines than less afraid of sharks. It's like a wall made out of cardboard. The intent to stop you is definitely there, but whether it's doing any stopping is another question. Stepping back from the competitive scene, you can find a lot more uses for RNG, and most of them are more enjoyable to experience firsthand. This is the point in my video where I show my bias, because there's certain cases where there's so much random bullshit, it's literally game-breaking, but the difference in experience is like a little sprinkle versus a slap in the face. Wild Magic or the Deck of Many Things in D&D, that one Pandora's Box mod in Minecraft from a million years ago, also Lucky Box, or the Metronome move from Pokémon. It's this extreme side to luck that I find fun, because it's not even trying to be subtle in how quickly it will break your shit. It's obviously more fun because it's a different vibe to esports games. There's no real pressure, but the thing is about these ones, they're both equally likely to give and take. But there is a sort of half exception. Enter the Hero from Smash. Hero is a funny case because you can clearly see that they tried to emulate JRPG tendencies in a fighting game, which basically means that he's a normal character, but he's mixed with a slot machine. He has a built-in crit mechanic in a fighting game, and a spell list that is completely random every single time. Some are completely busted, while another lets Hero kill himself if the right random number hits in code. So while he has the potential to be really game-breaking, he is, at the same time, genuinely cucked by his own player's luck. Which is why when he first came out, people tried banning him, which is why I say half. He can win, he has things in his kit to do so, but his real calling is to be really funny. Because Smash is a party game as well as a competitive game, I can see why Hero is that unbalanced for competitive. But that just means the next fighter's pass is going to be better, right? When I'm playing Hero, I no longer think about wanting to win, those thoughts are beneath me. I'm playing so I can employ my strategy of mashing down special until I run out of mana, and then leaping off the stage. It's like the ultimate for fun seasoning, because the moment I see Hero show up in character select, I think, oh, we're getting goofy. But Hero is actually a very high skill character. Not only do the mains have to face other players, they have to play around the RNG of the menu as well. Every time you open that menu, you have to pick the best option consistently, and if there's nothing good, just cancel out and you can spin that slot machine again, because for every menu you open, you can just say that you were conditioning. Good Hero players don't have to rely on luck. They instead gaslight it. You could randomly spam the menu, but do you really want to be the person that top decks Kamikaze at one stock in the final set? Yes, it's like a dog that pisses on your shoe. I can't really stay mad, because the next moment it's going to do something equally as cute. But what happens when it's just too much? Luck infests every nook and cranny and it becomes so overpowering that every other decision you make has such a small impact you just have to deal with the consequences. You've probably played Catan before. Every now and again, it's fine, but in my humble opinion, it is not invited to my personal rotation. Catan. You probably know what it is, but it's that one settlement building board game that looks like this, and where the goal is to get 10 victory points, which you get by building things with resources that come from hexes that have numbers on them. Every turn, a player rolls 2 dice, and the number which they got corresponds to a certain hex, which then provides resources to players who have a settlement on that hex. But when you roll a 7, the most likely number in the game, a player gets to move the robber, which is this little guy, and whatever hex you put him on blocks it from producing resources when it rolls, and they get to steal a card from whoever has an adjacent settlement. So whenever someone places this guy on a tile you're on, just remember, they're telling you to go fuck yourself. But after everything, it's finally your turn. It always feels like I'm making fake choices. On your turn, you can choose to do something, but it doesn't really matter because every action you can take is determined by what little number is rolled in a dice. And sure, that can be fun, but not for over an hour. Sometimes what you have doesn't build into shit, so you think, I need more resources, but where do they come from? Settlements. But to build more settlements, I need more resources, and those come from rolling dice. Whenever I play Catan, I get the friendly reminder that half the game is picking where to start on the map, because that determines how your settlements are going to develop. But the map is completely randomized when you start, and the order in which you pick settlements is decided by dice roll. So I just have to sit there as I watch all the good spots get taken, and when we start playing, I just say pause because I have no resources. But the game designers are smart, so on your turn, you can trade resources with any other player of the table. It's there so that if you can't get one type of resource, you can kindly ask another player at the table. Which brings me to the only strategies that have actually worked for me or I've seen work. Begging for scraps like a starving child, or getting really lucky and monopolizing one type of resource to then trade to other players at a higher price, or the forbidden technique, playing for second place. All of which I actually prefer to play in the game normally. I need settlements and roads for points which depend on resources, which depends on where I started, which depends on more randomness for map formation and turn order. But even if I do have access to all the resources on the board, I still have to roll the right resources, so when that doesn't happen, I have to wait until everybody else has those resources in excess, so they feel comfortable with pity trading me for shit they don't need when I beg them every single turn, and by then, they're super ahead. Wait, but there's one more glimmer of hope. I get to finally build a settlement. 5 turns later, and then I look at the board and all the good spots were taken when the game started. Everything depends on luck, and when Catan finally gives you something to do, it comes so spaced out and in such small pieces like roads that it doesn't feel like you did anything. I'm still relying on the dice to decide the game for me, and if that's the game I have to play, hey, Yahtzee could be pretty fun. However, there is a genre that has successfully domesticated the wild beast known as luck. Let me tell you about roguelike deck building games. Here, luck is a fundamental element that determines the flow of the game. You should know, but if you don't, in these games you build decks from cards you find lying around which you then use to clear a goal like scoring points or beating a boss. But at the end of the day, it's a card game, where your performance depends on a deck of randomized cards while you have no idea what comes next, and it's completely up to chance. It also doesn't really help that the cards you start with, while not completely useless, aren't really they don't
Dead. Oh my god.
they're kind of fucking shit. It's really hard to win with a starting deck, so you have to build one with the cards they give you, which are either better to play or give you flat upgrades like the Jokers and Balatro. And with each one you add, your odds of winning the next encounter goes up, given that you make the right choices when it counts. But when you start playing, you don't know what cards are going to be good, so you might just pick a bunch of the random cards that look good and go, yeah, this isn't working. Just because I've added those good cards, it doesn't mean they actually work when I need them to. You don't want to be the guy that goes, this card looks good. Lesson learned. It's all about trying to make the most effective deck with the resources that you've been given. Which means decreasing how unlucky you can get on any different hand. Do you get it? Your enemy isn't the boss blind or the Lagavulin. It's luck. You are fighting how shitty your luck is by making a deck that draws into a good play, even if you draw the worst hand you have. Even though your entire run is subject to the random shit you find, you still have an insane amount of control over the game. It's beautiful. Should I take this card? Does it work with what I have? I'd say I'm right about 60% of the time. Going through a run makes you feel like you're watching the eval bar in chess, but nicer. where you don't feel the dread of making a move you thought was good, but then instantly seeing the bar and going, that's not my color. My first deck builder was Slay the Spire, and a little tidbit that completely flew over my smooth brain was the ability to remove a card. I thought about why would I ever need it? Why would I ever want to have less cards to play? Removing means that the chance of drawing every other card in your deck increases, and if all of those cards are good, then 9 out of 10 times, unless you get really unlucky, you will win. At first, it seems so small and unimportant. Now those card removals give me my dopamine, so I think, how do I make my deck smaller? I need a smaller deck. I need more money so I can make my deck smaller. Where are the events that make my deck tiny? Luck is inseparable from deck builders, so every decision you make changes how it affects your play. Looking at what's in your draw pile and calculating your next turn based on how many strike cards you can draw, not relying on misprint to clear the boss blind, getting a Cavendish and not accounting for the fact that you won't be able to clear the next boss blind because it was just consumed and you're out of money. But in those situations, to tip the scales, all you have to think about is making this play, or removing that card, or getting a Mult Joker by rerolling, and the magic happens. The funny number goes up. And then you get it. You get why this genre blew up and why it's everywhere now. Because you get to play a game where luck is the final boss. I feel like Catan can learn a little bit from these games. But to be fair, rolling dice is normal for tabletop games because currently, there's no better way to solve disputes between players or make certain checks. So, here's my suggestion on how to make Catan more fun. You can have my cards. That is, if you think you can beat me and my blue eyes, my